A distinct rhythm drives a New York kitchen at lunchtime, the heavy thud of a knife hitting a block, carving through steaming slabs of meat. This hand-carved pastrami sandwich is our first piece of forensic evidence. It is massive, requiring 2 hands to hold, and it traces directly back to Eastern European Jewish immigrants who arrived a century ago. Then there's the New York bagel. Its specific character comes from a strict preparation method, using high-gluten flour, meticulous hand-rolling, and dropping the dough into boiling water before it ever sees a hot oven. And then there is the iconic dollar slice, a large, thin-crust triangle engineered to be folded into a V shape so it can be eaten on the move by a mobile population. These foods are globally recognized symbols of the city, yet none of them are native to it. Usually, cramming millions of people from different backgrounds onto a tiny island results in isolated factions and severe friction. In New York, the pressures of density and trade forced a different outcome. The city's economy became structurally dependent on the specific cultures these outsiders brought with them. The intake valve for this machine opened wide in 1825, when the Erie Canal connected the Atlantic Ocean to the interior of the continent. The city's deep natural harbor became the mandatory gateway to North America. For the millions of people arriving by ship, the Statue of Liberty was the physical threshold they crossed into this new economy. Between 1840 and 1930, 12 million people passed through Ellis Island, a massive injection of Irish, German, Italian, and Chinese populations into one urban harbor. These massive waves of arrivals mapped directly onto the city's geography. They deposited distinct cultures block by block, forming incredibly dense enclaves like the Lower East Side in Harlem. People lived and worked shoulder to shoulder. That geographic compression put different traditions in direct, daily contact, providing the exact raw ingredients the city would soon put to work. Take the Neapolitan pizza brought over by Southern Italian immigrants. In a city where laborers had no time to sit for a meal, the pie adapted. It became larger, the crust got thinner, and it evolved to be sold by the individual foldable slice. Jewish customs underwent a similar process. 19th-century delicatessens scaled up the curing and smoking of pastrami to feed crowds, while bagel bakers eventually formed their own powerful union, Local 338, to control mass production. You start with an old-world recipe. You force it through the pressures of urban density and commercial demand. What comes out the other side is a mass-market, hybridized icon. Cultural assimilation happened by default. It was the natural byproduct of millions of people simply adapting their skills to make a living in a dense city. Why did this specific cycle of adaptation happen so seamlessly here, rather than in Boston or Philadelphia? Because of the original blueprint. When the Dutch established New Amsterdam in 1625, they didn't build a religious sanctuary or a royal territory. They built a strictly commercial outpost for the Dutch East India Company. They operated under a philosophy of promiscuous commercial openness. Authorities were indifferent to your nationality, to your ethnicity, or your religion, as long as you could do business. That pragmatism yielded immediate results. By 1643, 18 languages were spoken on the streets of a tiny settlement on the edge of the wilderness. All those disparate voices were held together by one lucrative goal: the beaver pelt trade with the region's native Lenape people. Commerce was New York's first operating system. It established a structural compatibility that ensured when future waves of immigrants arrived, the city already knew exactly how to absorb them. When the English seized the colony in 1664, renaming it New York, they left that Dutch commercial culture completely intact. That decision defined the city's growth for the next 4 centuries. You can see the physical proof in Lower Manhattan. Federal Hall, where George Washington was inaugurated as the nation's first president, sits directly atop the footprint of that original Dutch trading post. Chinatown remains a functioning working-class community, where dim sum parlors, fish markets, and herbal medicine shops have operated within this same commercial framework since the 1870s. The physical layers of the streets themselves prove that the founding premise, building a society around the exchange of goods and ideas, remains completely unbroken. That continuous drive is how the city heals. After the traumatic devastation of September 11th, downtown rebuilt its geography, utilizing the same instinct the rest of the city uses to reinvent its obsolete spaces. Today, open-air markets in Brooklyn act as the new incubators. They provide a high-traffic stage for vendor-driven, multi-ethnic fusions, following the same economic pressures that forged the first delicatessens. Whether it's a new culinary trend at Smorgasburg or converting an abandoned freight railway into the High Line, you're watching the modern iterations of a 400-year-old urban design grammar.